to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast, coming to you from the FantasyJocks.com studios with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Oh my goodness, we are back. Back again
to finish out a very important week. A lot of people need to win and get in or get out for these fantasy playoffs.
Week 13. Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. I am your temporary host, Mike Wright.
For the final time.
This is the trifecta of hosting. This is the most consecutive shows that I have run in a row. I was waiting for you to say, yeah, Mike, you've been so amazing.
You've been so good.
Thank you, Jason.
I'll tell you what, though. I miss Andy. We're a good three-man team, and we've held it together. I think we've done an okay job.
Well,
but
maybe you should let him out of the trunk.
Yeah, I'm going to let him out. I'm going to pop it up. He will be back on Monday for sure, barring any unforeseen different things. He's almost over his cold, but we have his starts of the week. He's still around here answering questions online if you are there or over on Patreon at jointhefoot.com. He's still here, still working, just can't talk well. Can't is that right? All right.
Sure. Today's show, we got some news and notes. We got your fantasy forecast running through the second half of the matches. There will be no Chris Meany today. However, you can check out
Ben Cummins.
Ben Cummins on the fantasyfootballers.com is dropping DFS articles every single week, so we've got you covered there. Fear not, our DFS players. It's just all kinds of articles always going up on the fantasyfootballers.com. You can check us out also on YouTube. Actually see what's going on. You can see this handsome gentleman who is sitting across the desk from me.
Oh, man. I don't think you've ever complimented me, Mike.
There's a first time for everything, Jason.
I like it. I really like it.
Check us out on Twitter at the FF Ballers and individually at Andy Holloway, at JasonFFL, and I am at FF Hitman. If you want to support the show, you want to help keep us running, look, we go all year long. It's February, and you're thinking, well, there's no football to talk about. No one. That is baloney, grade A baloney, because we are here. We're bringing it all year long. And you can check us out and help support the show at jointhefoot.com. Jason, it was a spectacular football game last night.
It really was. It was
low scoring, but it was a great game.
Yeah, truly a fun game to watch. You saw, you get the cliches of, games are won in the trenches. But I don't remember the last game where I watched the offensive line and the defensive line virtually 90% of the time. Like, that's where my eyeballs were for that game, was just watching those battles of the big men. And you had, when you've got such elite talent on both sides of the ball, and really I'm speaking about when Dallas had the ball, that Minnesota defensive line, because I would not like to compliment the Minnesota offensive line very much. They did okay. They impressed me yesterday from where they've been, but they have been quite poor. How about Sam Bradford at the end of that game with his legs?
When he finally started rolling out of the pocket, I'm watching this going, Bradford, you had an entire game to do this.
You could have done something you could have done yesterday. I think Sam Bradford, if he had a better O-line, I think Sam Bradford could be a good quarterback if he had two things. He needs a better offensive line, and he needs to stop wearing the 1970s linebacker shoulder pads. I don't think he can throw with those things.
It's the combination of the shoulder pads and the sleeves. The sleeves hang down so far. He borrowed his father's jersey.
Yeah.
But that's actually the story of Sam Bradford's career, because I was a Bradford apologist for many years, is always, man, Sam Bradford could be so good if he had X and Y. We keep saying that.
I do need to apologize. I want to, look, we do a lot of work here, a lot of research, spend our time watching film and breaking down game splits and all sorts of things. And my boom kicker of the week.
Hey, you got
for those that are new and don't realize that I hate kickers. And I want the position done away with in fantasy football, and that's really the genesis of my boom kicker of the week, because it was basically making me have to work on kickers while I hate them. I apologize because last night, man, Dan Bailey broke the mold of that Thursday night starter. He did not have a good game. He didn't do anything wrong, but the game script didn't work for him. Thanks for all those fumbles, Dallas. But, man, it just breaks my heart at this time of year when we say, hey, this guy's going to be good, and he fails. We've been doing pretty well on the rankings lately, but
the last thing I'll say before we move on, I guess a couple of things. Dez had the best wide receiver game against Minnesota that all year, so congratulations to Dez. I mean, this is that scenario of, do you start your studs or do you think you're going to outsmart the system and grab somebody? And because you know that your studs can still come through, and even in a tough matchup. And did you catch the announcers, the national announcers? We're talking Team Collinsworth referred to Cole Beasley as Dallas's number one wide receiver during the broadcast.
Stop it. Well, he certainly was not.
No, he was.
Last night.
It did not happen.
And going forward, what we have seen is that Dez Bryant has truly reestablished the number one wide receiver role with Dak Prescott. We said that before. We said that in our preview of this game. Dez was clearly, the rapport had been there, and we saw it. He's throwing that jump ball to Dez. Dez should have had 2 touchdowns. I don't know how he didn't get in when he was wide open.
Elliott owners are very happy about that.
Oh, certainly. Elliott got a free touchdown there. Elliott played well. I think the Cowboys as a whole did all right. You're probably disappointed with Dak Prescott. He had 2 fumbles. He did run for 40 yards and got that touchdown, but disappointing for him. And I would say in a PPR format, your guy came through over on the other side of the ball.
He did. I was biting my nails on Stephon Diggs because Sam Bradford was actually spreading the ball around. Adam Thielen was the best receiver on the
Thielen
field.
has looked good for several weeks, and we need to keep him in mind going forward.
For Minnesota. Let me
for
clarify that.
Yeah, for fantasy.
Yes.
For fantasy football, Adam Thielen put up a game, and he would have been a fine start. I don't know if that was because you still have a little bit of limitation in Stephon Diggs.
I would assume so.
Going forward, and you know who else looked just like the centerpiece of the offense to me, especially early on, was Kyle Rudolph. Considering how bad tight ends have been, and he had the opportunity for a touchdown grab late in that game. It was a difficult catch. He didn't make it, but
I believe he had 12 targets.
I mean, that's what there's not many. We were talking about this in the office. The tight end position, now that Gronk is done.
Oh, the elites are gone.
Greg Olsen has fallen off a cliff. Jordan Reed
not expected to play.
Who is your elite tight end?
You don't have one.
Delaney Walker?
Yeah, he's the last man standing, but he was never really. You wouldn't consider him in that elite.
Even historically good tight ends. Jason Witten, for the first time in a long time, I believe
since 2008.
Since 2008 was held catchless.
I'm surprised he did not just spontaneously combust.
In fairness to him, he did have a very good reception, got some extra yards, and then it was called back on penalty.
All right, there's actually very little news. There is one big piece, but it's so big that we have to introduce the segment just for this one piece of news.
Let's do it.
News and notes from around the league.
Gronk is done.
I imagine that anyone, if you're listening to this podcast, you have heard this news, but we have to talk about it. Rob Gronkowski, the back injury was far worse than they had expected. He's going under the knife for his 3rd back surgery of his career.
Yeah, that is it's not good. I expect that we will see him go on IR today. That has not been officially announced as of now, but that's the expectation. There's some questions like, well, what if they play to the Super Bowl? Will he be there? I don't think you'll see Gronk even at the Super Bowl. I expect that to be official later this week or today when he goes on IR. So what does this mean for Tom Brady and for Julian Edelman and Malcolm Mitchell, the other pieces, LeGarrette Blount? Who is it that takes a step down, and who is it that doesn't, and who is it that takes a step forward? Because we've seen all 3 of those things. When Gronk is there and when Gronk is missing, there are certain players that go backwards, certain players that aren't affected, and certain players that go forward. And sadly, I think we have enough data, enough missed games, and enough games played where we can be relatively sure what happens for the
Who
Patriots?
I think the only person who actually really takes a step down
Is Brady?
is Tom Brady. Tom Brady does not put up the type of production when Gronkowski is out. Julian Edelman owners, such as myself, that was a big upgrade.
Yeah.
We saw that now that Edelman is back involved in the offense, that game against San Francisco, 17 targets. A lot of non-quality targets, but 17 targets nonetheless. Julian Edelman, big upgrade. And it makes me far more excited for Malcolm Mitchell. Malcolm Mitchell, to me, moved from that, well, we're going to stash him on the bench, and let's just see, because you had Chris Hogan in his way. I think he moves up. You have targets that have to go to somebody.
Yeah, I certainly agree that with those extra targets, you've got to move him up. I think you have to move Martellus Bennett up a little bit as well. The guy that stays pretty much the same and has seen very little difference between when Gronk plays and when Gronk doesn't. And that was actually a little surprising to me. I thought he would be better with Gronk in there to help block and to help keep the offense moving, but I guess he could take some of the touchdowns away too, is LeGarrette Blount. He's safe. He is what he was. This season so far, we've seen what you're saying with Julian Edelman, a difference of 11 points a game PPR to 17. That's
17
pretty big
without Gronk.
Without Gronk. And if you go longer timeline, it's still he's better without Gronk, but only 2 or 3 points fantasy-wise per game. And Tom Brady takes not a drastic step backwards, but certainly does not.
He's still an every week guy.
Yeah, there's plenty of weapons there.
All right, let's get over some players who are on the injury report. They may have been limited or missed some practice, and we're gonna speculate if they're gonna play or not.
What's it gonna be, McFly? Are you in or out?
All right, first on this list, the aforementioned Tom Brady.
Tom Brady was back at practice Thursday. He will certainly play.
Andrew Luck.
Now, Andrew Luck has practiced all week in a limited fashion. He doesn't play until Monday. He has not cleared the concussion protocol, but I think I feel like the 99% expectation is that he plays.
I agree.
The question is, for fantasy owners that have Luck, do you need to
have a backup
plan? I feel like you don't.
I think before Sunday morning rolls around, we're going to have clarity on this.
You are probably right. If it doesn't, I would say that it's such a sure thing that Andrew Luck will be cleared and will play that I would take the gamble of if
riding dirty,
and worst case scenario, if I've got to move Andrew Luck to my IR when he's officially declared out and roll in to some Tolzien, I wouldn't want to do it, but that's how confident I am Andrew Luck will play. Trevor
Siemian has not practiced this week. Coobs says he has so much confidence in the 7th-round pick. He says he can play without practice. Practice?
It's so weird.
I don't need practice. I'm Trevor Siemian.
So I would say, whenever a guy misses, especially a quarterback who you need to kind of have running the game plan and those type of things, when you miss
tough matchup against Jacksonville as well.
Yeah, when you miss
Jacksonville
these
pasty
practices, you're still in a walking boot. I would expect Trevor Siemian not to play, but it is interesting to me that Kubiak is saying even if he doesn't practice all week, he still can play, because what does that say about Paxton Lynch?
Says he's not ready.
But when we've seen him, he's as good as Trevor Siemian.
All right. In that start, he did not look. Siemian has looked much better.
Yeah, I guess my point is he's enough with that defense. Like the difference between Siemian
this week probably against Jacksonville.
Here's what this does do though. Regardless of whether he does play or is out and Lynch is in, I think this downgrades all your offensive pieces for the Broncos, because you're not going to have the healthy starter. So Demaryius Thomas, who I was already down on a little bit, I move him down a little more. Same with Sanders. Even the running game, it affects all pieces.
Mark Ingram has not practiced on Wednesday or Thursday because of a toe injury.
If he doesn't get in limited today, I think he's going to be out. You know how much Tim Hightower is loved, rightly or wrongly. Sean Payton loves Tim Hightower, and he is an absolute must start against the Detroit. The Detroit Lions are technically okay against the run, fantasy points wise, mostly because they give it all up through the air. But if Ingram is out, Tim Hightower is an absolute must start.
Ingram and Sean Payton are most definitely Froyo bros.
Yes.
Many frozen yogurts have been consumed.
Are you saying Hightower?
Did I misspeak?
You said Ingram.
Oh no. Sean Payton does not like Mark Ingram.
No.
He does everything he can to keep him off the field.
This is like an opportunity for Sean Payton to sit Mark Ingram. Hey, you didn't practice. Wait, the doctor cleared me. He said I could practice in full. Yeah, but you didn't. You said I couldn't. That's what'll happen. I don't expect Mark Ingram to play. If he does,
You think he's out?
I do. I think he's going to miss the game. However, if he plays, I'm fine starting him.
Chris Ivory is unlikely to play with a hamstring. He has not practiced this week. His counterpart, TJ Yeldon, did practice on Thursday. So, oh, man, TJ Yeldon against the Broncos is all alone, could get some volume. The Broncos can be beat on the ground. Pull out that Sharpie we talked about. Just black out your entire screen.
Yeah, this is the week before the playoffs where you are trying to get in. If you have to rely on either of these guys,
you're in some trouble. Brian,
I hope you keep listening when your playoff run is over.
Ryan Mathews has been ruled out. Mike Gillislee has been limited in practice, so he remains the handcuff. T.Y. Hilton, he's talking about some in and out.
We're going wide receivers?
T.Y. Hilton here. Practice Wednesday, did not practice Thursday. However, they're on the Monday night game schedule.
So it's like today's a Wednesday, which is a normal practice to miss. You have to monitor it, but I expect that he will play.
We have an entire subsection here of wide receivers exclusively for the Bills because it is not going well in Buffalo. Sammy Watkins did return to practice after he was experiencing the foot soreness. The quotes are all over the map from the coaching staff of, I don't think he's going to play. Oh, well, he could play as much as he needs to. We'll see what he can actually do. I mean, all over the place. Do you expect Sammy in the lineup?
I fully expect Sammy Watkins to be in the lineup. They need him, as we will see when we talk about everybody else there.
That's good news because Robert Woods has not practiced all week. Marquise Goodwin did return to practice today, but he suffered a wrist injury. And Percy Harvin, the migraines are back, unfortunately, for Harvin.
That is just so sad.
Yes,
when a guy finally comes back and when it's that specific thing with the migraines, man, it's just
no good.
Don't play Percy, and I don't expect he will. I don't expect Robert Woods will. Marquise Goodwin, I think he will play, but I think he'll be hampered by that wrist. Sammy Watkins should play, and I think he's going to be all right, but I would prefer to not have to rely on him in this game.
DeVante Parker is trending towards not playing. Kelvin Benjamin was limited on Thursday with a shoulder.
He should play. He's still been practicing.
Jordan Mathews did return to practice. He had rolled his ankle in the game.
Avoid Jordan Mathews. I'm going to go ahead and put this out there.
Hot take.
Avoid Jordan Mathews. Last week, if you look at, he had this ankle injury, and he wasn't really able to play through it during the game. And so let's say, and now he's had some soreness, and he's had some hard time practicing. It's not healed. I am not going to trust that if he is active, that he's going to play a full game. That's kind of my fear.
Okay,
is
you're
not
worried
that
about re-injury.
He's going to be out. I'm saying avoid him this week because, he's just got a lot of extra risk this week, and I don't think his normal upside is worth taking on that kind of risk.
Jeremy Maclin has returned to practice.
Yeah, some of the beat reporters out of Kansas City, even with him back at practice, expect him to miss one more week. It's
really?
Yeah, it's really a strange situation.
Tyreek Hill needs to give Jeremy Maclin a weekend trip to Aspen. Say,
go
treat
get
yourself,
healthy.
Jeremy Maclin.
Treat yourself.
Just stay away so I can do my thing. Tyrell Williams not practicing again.
He's trending towards out. I mean, when you don't practice Wednesday, you don't practice Thursday. Today will be the telling day for Tyrell Williams. He's a tough one, too, because I think earlier this week, I think I had recommended Tyrell Williams to start for several questions.
I like him this week, or liked him. I mean, the shoulder issue is causing a big problem. Everyone on the New England Patriots roster has been limited and marked as limited. However, Jules, Edelman, he's back at practice. Hogan has been limited at practice. These guys are expected to play. John Brown, limited at practice. Still
That's another avoid for me. Like
even if he plays?
Even if he plays, avoid him. I don't expect huge things. He hasn't figured the sickle cell trait issue out with the legs. You saw him start last week with a 20-yard catch, and then he was pretty much done for the game. He was out. So I would not be playing my guy, John Brown.
Allen Hurns hasn't practiced this week. That could be interesting for Marquise Lee if
Marquise Lee
if they weren't playing the Broncos.
And Allen Robinson are going to be pretty much your only two pass-catching options, maybe with T.Y. Hilton. It looks like, I know we're not to the tight ends, but it looks like Julius Thomas is going to be out, and Allen Hurns is going to be out. And they are
C.J. Yeldon!
Yeah, but, man, with that Broncos
Let's go!
if you're telling me I just got to lock down two outside guys and then go get Blake Bortles,
yep.
There will be blood.
Eddie Royal did not practice. Eddie Royal just can never – he can't stay on the field lately, so Marquise Wilson becomes more interesting than he was because we have a little bit of clarity there. Moving to the tight ends, Jordan Reed, sources say he is unlikely to play, which – yeah.
Thanks. Sources,
just mark him out already.
Yeah,
I need to move him to my IR.
I feel like we don't need sources on that. Just logic says this guy who has a long stretch of injury problems, who has a very serious
grade 3
injury right now, probably is not going to play this week.
I watched a video of him at practice, and because he's still hanging out with the guys, but the injured arm, this thing is tucked into the side. He is not moving it at all.
Yeah, and that's not what you want to go out and catch balls against the number 1 ranked defense against the tight end.
Odell Beckham, one of these days, he's going to say, I'm just going to play with one hand.
So here's a question, Mike, with Jordan Reed. I know he's unlikely to play. I would say extremely doubtful. But there is a rule that says if he plays, you start him.
Oh, that is very true.
It's his
rule 86.
Is that true this week? If he plays with this injury against Arizona, do you start him?
I would. I would.
All right.
I would.
Martellus Bennett returned to practice. He should be fine. This is pretty much the Patriot way. You know,
I gave the update. Yeah, everyone on the Patriots limited.
Your veterans, they're not going to play Wednesday. They're going to practice limited Thursday, and then they're going to be fine.
So, is there anyone else? We got Julius Thomas. We said he's not practicing, and Charles Clay did return to practice. Charles Clay just ever disappointing for fantasy purposes.
Yeah, he really has been a disappointment since coming over from Miami. I thought he would be able to get some stuff done.
So before we jump into the rest of the forecast, I want to thank today's sponsor, Blue Apron. Blue Apron is shipping delicious recipes right to your door. And you know what is the worst, Jason? When you're driving home, it's 5 o'clock, and you go, oh, crap.
Oh, I know it.
I have no ideas for dinner. It's chicken nuggets again.
Yeah, I got
to the rescue. But boom, Blue Apron, they got you covered. Go ahead and browse the menu on blueapron.com. I'm telling you, there is no way you're leaving that website without just drool all over your shirt after you see what they have available. Thai green coconut curry with sweet potato and jasmine rice. Roasted pork with braised cabbage with barley and glazed apples. Brown butter and chestnut gnocchi with Brussels sprouts and pea shoot salad. These are things that there's no possible way I'm coming up with the idea to make this. These are far too complex. Yet, with Blue Apron, I know that I can make them. I'm telling you, this is a personal story. I have made more than one of these meals, and they look spectacular, and they taste spectacular.
Are they Instagram worthy?
They are. These are definitely Instagram-worthy meals. You can check out this week's menu and get your first 3 meals with free shipping by going to blueapron.com. You will love how good it feels and tastes to create incredible home-cooked meals with Blue Apron, so don't wait. That's blueapron.com/ballers. Blue Apron, a better way to cook.
And don't forget about Pristine Auction.
Never.
Ever. Never forget about Pristine Auction.
Actually, I'll say this. Since we've been talking about pristineauction.com, I feel like people know what I want, and they're gunning for me on these daily bids.
Yeah,
I think they look and they go, "That's a Mike Wright special right there. I'm gonna take it."
Man, I was looking. You know, they have the daily bids are my favorite thing personally.
Yes.
Because you can just get in on
new
it so
stuff
quick.
every day.
Every day it's new stuff, and you just get in and you can watch the timer and go, "Oh my goodness, I can't believe the price of this signed jersey for my favorite player. I gotta have it." You could bid; it doesn't cost you anything to bid. If you win it, you buy it. It's great.
I may have won something for the studio last night.
Did you really? What did we get?
We got a signed Le'Veon Bell jersey.
Yes!
You know how much?
How much?
$50.
What? That's bananas.
I got one away. I stole one.
Man.
People did not snipe me on that one. I took care of it.
I'll tell you what. There's a whole range of stuff. You got to check it out at Pristine Auction, and you can find steals. You can also, you can go elite as well. I mean,
Yes.
there's some signed Michael Jordan, Babe Ruth stuff on there. They have the whole gamut. You got to check them out. You will not be sad, especially this Christmas season. It's Pristine Auction, Pristine auction.com.
Fantasy Forecast.
All right, let's finish up the games, my friend.
We got a lot of good information on these games. Hopefully, will help you determine who to start, who to bypass.
Rams, Patriots, 44.5 point over-under. Patriots are favored by nearly 2 touchdowns.
With that low of an over-under, Patriots don't usually have a 44.5, but that high of a spread.
Say the implied team total for the Patriots still says to me that I have no concern starting.
I
the
was going to
Patriots.
bring up the implied point total
for the Rams.
Rams.
Yeah.
Just has to be, I mean, you're not going to sit Todd Gurley because he gets the volume enough to be consistent. I hope he's not your RB1. He's a great RB2 right now. He's still been decent on the year. Certainly disappointing for where you drafted him. Outside of that, let's just keep on the Rams side of the ball. You've got Kenny Britt and Tavon Austin as the only 2 questionable startable players.
I'll still start Kenny Britt.
Okay.
As a wide receiver 3.
Yeah, I mean, you could definitely see the game script where the Patriots are clearly going to get up. Or that would be likely at the very least. And then if you've got to air it out, you could do far worse than Kenny Britt, who has, since Goff has taken over, he's had 5 receptions both weeks, got a touchdown. I do think he is still limited by this offense. I'm not rushing.
That's
out
why
to,
he's a 3.
Yeah, this time of year, I'm hoping I can do better than Kenny Britt.
If Kenny Britt, at this point of his career, the way that he is, when I'm watching him on film this year, if he had a legitimate quarterback, Kenny Britt, I think, could have had a spectacular year.
Yeah,
it's pretty disappointing.
But you are starting Kenny Britt over Tavon Austin. Tavon Austin,
Yes.
He did have a decent week last week, 445, and he got the touchdown. But over the listen to his reception totals over the last month. So he had the 4 this last week. Week before, 1. Week before that, 2. Week before that, 1. Tavon Austin is a name that you don't need to remember.
4 years, $42 million. That's what they gave Tavon this offseason, and that's what they're doing with him.
Man, okay, so on the other side of the ball, Danny Woodhead. Danny Woodhead, he's a weapon.
Oh, that got me good.
So if you haven't heard, my
hero,
my hero,
Your
as
hero.
Andy would, as my hacked Twitter, that when Andy hacked it would say, my hero Jeff Fisher. He was talking about the Patriots in a news conference and talked about Danny Woodhead, who is not only injured but also not on the Patriots and has not been on the Patriots for a couple of years.
Well, I believe it was inferred Danny Woodhead because he said the name Danny.
Sure.
And then he
doesn't know whoever the running back is.
Yeah, basically he did not know the running backs for the Patriots, which was look, maybe it was just a mistake, but you feel like your head coach should know who he's going up against.
I would want, if I was a player,
Yeah.
I would really want my head coach to know every detail about that team. So let's talk about the details of the Patriots. They lose Gronkowski. That doesn't help the overall offense. You are still starting Tom Brady. Are you
Yes.
starting him over most everybody?
It's still most everybody, yes.
I believe I have him ranked as the 4th best quarterback, so I agree. This matchup, it does not scare me with the Rams defense.
What about the wide receivers? What are you doing with? So Edelman's a must play. Are you throwing in Hogan or Mitchell?
I'm not.
Or are you
I'm not
gonna wait?
I'm not going to throw in Hogan. Hogan
Okay.
to me is a guy that, if you're playing in DFS and you want that, crazy crap shot
Tournament play.
play, then Chris Hogan is legit to me because he could absolutely catch a 75-yard touchdown in this game. But I'm not playing him in any of our redraft leagues. When it comes to Malcolm Mitchell, I think I would rather have Malcolm Mitchell than a Kenny Britt because both of those guys I would expect to be somewhere around 5 receptions. But I don't see a Kenny Britt being able to have a 7 for 80 and a touchdown or two type of game against the Patriots, where I could see Mitchell doing that. That being said, this time of year, I'm hoping I don't have to play either one of those guys. Certainly, Julian Edelman, he should be one of our starts of the week. With Gronk out now, you've seen him really be extremely important to this offense. And I think with how the tight end landscape is, I would be fine starting Martellus Bennett as well as
he's still a crapshoot to me though. I mean, he's right in that Barfy tight end. The difference between him and the rest of the guys is just his ceiling.
Well, the difference is the quarterback,
and
right?
That's why.
Which is what gives him the ceiling, and that's why people still start Coby Fleener, because when you're judging between these guys who are all going to get 4 receptions for question mark and question mark, I'm going to answer the question marks with the quarterback.
Sorry, you got more?
No, that was it. I will say this: the Rams are pretty good against the tight end. So Martellus Bennett's not a must start. He's just you can start him.
Lions Saints 53.5 point over under what?
Well, the reason that you've got that is you have 2 defenses that against the pass are suspect. And you've got Drew Brees playing at home where his home road splits, we've talked about it before. Drew Brees at home is great. And you got Matthew Stafford, whose home road splits are almost identical. He plays well on the road. He plays good at home, a little bit better at home. So these offenses should be able to keep up with one another as the defenses are gassed.
Yeah, you're starting both quarterbacks. That's a no-nonsense type of move. I love Theo Riddick in this matchup. 78% of snaps last week against Minnie. Against Minnesota, they said, hey, Theo Riddick, you're our guy. And so that speaks to me like Riddick is their guy.
And we verified and vetted the stat. On a per-touch
basis,
thank you. On a per-touch basis, Theo Riddick is scoring more fantasy points per touch than
number 2,
David Johnson. So Theo Riddick is a very good start here, especially against the New Orleans Saints. You know, we talk about, you know, they've got a suspect secondary, but their secondary is far better so far this year as far as against fantasy than their rushing defense. Their rushing defense has been horrendous, so Theo Riddick definitely must start. The question I think a lot of people want to know, and seemingly is impossible to answer, is which weapon for the Detroit Lions is it going to be? And is there going to be enough output where you can kind of start all of them? I mean, and by all of them, I guess 3.5, right? You've got Eric Ebron, who I believe is a good start this week. I made him my start of the week, not because I think he's going to be just an unstoppable monster, but because you're not going to see what you saw last week with 0 targets. I don't see that. But Marvin Jones, Golden Tate, who do you got? How do you have those guys ranked this week?
I lean towards Golden Tate, but if I have Marvin Jones, I'm still going to play him in this matchup just because of the over-under, the ceiling. I want pieces of this game. Mark Ingram and Hightower, between the two of them last week against the Rams, there was 29 carries and 4 targets. Jason mentioned this when we were talking about Ingram, but Hightower becomes an absolute must-play for me if Mark Ingram is out, because he's likely going to see 20-plus carries, and he'll see a handful of receptions with a high probability to score. I mean, if Ingram is out, is Hightower a running back 1 for you?
Yes. If Ingram is out, Hightower will definitely be. He'll probably be right around that running back 12 for me this week. Similar to, you know, the roulette that you play on the Lions side of the ball is still, will there be enough points here to feed all the mouths of Brandon Cooks, Michael Thomas, Willie Snead?
Unlikely. I'm just saying, it's unlikely that everyone's going to get theirs.
Especially in a game, and look, I know you pumped the brakes a little bit on Coby Fleener, but the Lions have just been so bad against tight end. They are the 32nd ranked. They are the worst team against tight ends. And Drew Brees is not one to shy away from an exploit. He's going to go ahead and say, oh, that was easy. Let me do that over and over and over. Now, I'm not saying rush out and start Coby Fleener, but it does temper my expectations for all 3 of the wide receivers. If Coby Fleener ends up with one of those touchdowns, it can't go elsewhere. So How do you rank them? Would you rank Michael Thomas first?
Yeah, I think I would. I mean, he's been unbelievable all season, and the consistency factor of Michael Thomas, I would rather play him. I don't know how many people actually have both Cooks and Thomas. I mean, if I have Brandon Cooks, I'm playing him this week. We talked about, I think the goose egg last week was a complete anomaly. I side with Jason on the squeaky wheel that Brandon Cooks is going to get fed.
And that's when he was squeaking. That's exactly what he said. He said, what was his quote? It was closed mouths don't get fed.
You're darn right they don't, Brandon Cooks.
So he opened his mouth because he wants the ball. I think he'll get the opportunity. And against Detroit, now I assume that Darius Slay will be on Brandon Cooks.
Well, we'll see.
So I have Michael Thomas ranked pretty high. He's my wide receiver 14. I have Brandon Cooks just ahead of him at wide receiver 10.
All right.
But they're both honestly, if I had both, I would be willing to start both in this game.
Bills Raiders 49-point over/under. The Raiders are favored by a field goal. Tyrod Taylor becomes man. It's really tough for me to want to stream Tyrod in this situation. The matchup, I mean, the Raiders defense, they have been playing better as of lately, but I still think you can beat them. 49 points they expect to be put on the board here.
In a close game.
But the Bills have no wide receivers.
Well, they have no wide receivers, but if you look at the season, they really have had wide receiver injuries from the get-go.
Yeah, but they've at least had Woods and Goodwin available.
But I feel like it's been roulette, right? It started out where you had Watkins. Okay, no, now we don't have Watkins. Wow, Goodwin had a good game. Okay, Goodwin's injured. Robert Woods is back. Okay, he's out. Every game it's a different guy getting it done. And it's always LaShawn McCoy, right? LaShawn McCoy to me is an absolute ironclad, locked and loaded must start in a high-scoring game where you don't know which wide receiving option is going to get it done. McCoy, you start. This is why I am willing to go and start Watkins, because with all of the injuries there in what Vegas is expecting to be a higher scoring game, there will probably be enough opportunity for Watkins. I would prefer to be able to have the luxury on my fantasy team to wait another week, but I think Watkins is startable. I wouldn't start any other wide receiver. And that does lead to your point.
Or say, would you start Mr. 1-1? Justin Hunter, 1 catch, 1 touchdown. It's like, what's the sniper motto? Like, 1 shot, 1 bullet. Justin is 1 catch, 1 touchdown.
Yeah, so it does speak a little bit to Tyrod Taylor. That's the real question here is do you start him?
I'd look for a different option.
I have him as a complete middle-of-the-pack quarterback. He's around 15 for me. So if I'm in a 12-team league, I hope I have somebody else. If I'm in a 2-quarterback league, he should be an okay second quarterback to start.
Crabtree, Cooper, must starts. We had a question yesterday on the Footcast. It said, why does Derek Carr hate Amari Cooper? And I get it. I get your disappointment in Cooper the last couple of weeks, but on the season he's been spectacular. And I'm not scared of the Bills DBs at this point. So despite the Bills having a good defensive ranking, they're 8th against the pass, 9th in fantasy points, I'm still starting Cooper and Crabtree with full confidence.
You know who I hate?
Who do you hate, Jason?
Seth Roberts.
Oh!
I just, it's like you've got Cooper, you've got Crabtree, and then you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different games that Seth Roberts has caught a touchdown. Stop it.
Seth Roberts, to me,
he's like a vulture at wide receiver.
Right. I feel like he's the big brother who is, while his little brother just is the elite player at the elite athlete, but the big brother comes in every once in a while and just wants to remind you that I'm the big brother, so that's my touchdown.
Yeah.
You can't have that, Amari Cooper.
Yeah, so, one of the things we've seen this year, when you look at the games, there have been a couple games where both Crabtree and Cooper have gotten it done, but they seem to kind of be swapping back and forth. The games that Cooper has had really big games, you've seen Crabtree disappear for, and vice versa. I'm not sure that both of them get it done in this one. I agree. If you have either, you probably should start them. But, you've got Crabtree, who has been limited in practice. He was limited in practice last week and had a fine game. But if you look at last week's Crabtree game, you had 50 of his yards come basically on that one broken play right towards the end. And I think you look at his total and you go, oh, he had, 8 for 100? Let me look that up. He had, 8 for 110. And you go, well, that's a great game. He must have been extremely involved. But, when you take away 50 of those and 7 for 50, 7 for 60, he just wasn't getting down the field as much.
What I really like for the Raiders offense, the strength of the Bills is rushing the passer. They're averaging a sack almost every 11 attempts, 33 sacks on the year. Derek Carr does not get touched.
Right.
And the Bills rely on that pass rush to cover up the weaknesses of the secondary. If they can't get to the quarterback, I like both Crabtree and Cooper this week.
Yeah, I can get behind that. That's strong logic from a functional how the game could roll out. And you're right. Those cornerbacks for Buffalo, they have been beat a lot this year.
Washington takes on the Arizona Cardinals in Arizona. That's a 49.5 point over under. The Cardinals are favored by 2.5.
Really?
Yeah. Let me vet that there.
I guess the Cardinals are at home. I would see this as a darn near pick'em game.
Well, 2.5 is pretty close.
Yeah.
But 49.5 points they're expecting to be scored in a close game. With the way that Arizona's defense has been playing, I guess they are giving Washington the credit it deserves for their offense. They have a very high-powered offense. Kirk Cousins, Carson Palmer, do you have any hesitation starting Kirk Cousins, who has been just El Scorcho the past couple weeks?
I do have hesitation starting him. They're not huge. I have him at quarterback 11 right now. So,
where's Jameis?
Jameis Winston is lower for me. I go back and forth on that one. If I were to have to start one of those two guys,
the people need to know, Jason.
Yeah, asking for a friend.
Yeah,
I think it depends on what you need.
I need points, Jason. My friend needs points.
Jameis Winston has a much better matchup against San Diego. I worry that the Arizona Cardinals might not be able to keep up with scoring because of John Brown, Michael Floyd's head and John Brown's legs. I have not helped the Arizona Cardinals.
So Washington, they do rank 25th against the run.
Yeah, David Johnson is going to be a fine play.
I would start him. And on the other side of the ball, you got Fat Rob.
The more that I think about it, I think Kirk Cousins is going to be somewhat safer. Patrick Peterson was injured last game, and he played through it.
That's true.
But when you watch him, if you go back and look at the film, he was not running the same. He did not look that good. And they had to they were worried about it after the game. And all the results came back and said, okay, he's fine. He's just hurt. But he's not 100%.
He's fine. He's just hurt.
Yeah, that's the NFL. It's like, you don't have any broken bones or completely torn off the bone muscles, so just deal with it. Tyrann Mathieu got beat several times this last game as well. I think the combination.
So that speaks to Mathieu should be on Crowder. If things go the way that they usually do. Mathieu is generally the slot. The slot when other opposing offenses go 3 wide, Tyrann Mathieu becomes the slot corner.
Yeah,
taking on Crowder.
So
with Mathieu not playing up to snuff, do you have faith in
with Mathieu?
Crowder?
And I think that this is a dangerous play, but you could see a suspect Arizona defense with Patrick Peterson and Mathieu not playing up to their namesakes right now for this week, and Kirk Cousins being on fire. Now, one that's one narrative. And if that's what you believe, you go watch the film and you believe, Kirk Cousins has been really unstoppable. I can buy that. But you also have the narrative where this is a must-win game for the Arizona Cardinals, who are at home. Washington's traveling across the country.
The Cardinals are done. I believe I saw a percentage chance of teams making the playoffs, and the Cardinals were at a stout 1%.
My point is, from their perspective, they're still in the hunt, and it is therefore an absolute must-win. They are playing because they still want to be in the playoffs. They still believe they can. I agree. They're not going to get there.
They aren't wizards with math then. Probability and statistics. Not the strong point. My last point here for the Washington wide receivers. If Pat P is on Deshaun Jackson and Tyrann Mathews on Crowder, that leaves Marcus Cooper on Garcon. And we've seen Garcon have some big games.
Garcon's been pretty hot over the last month.
So if that's the way it lines up, it would not shock me at all to have Garcon have a monster game. Jordan Reed, we expect him to be out. Vernon Davis, the obvious fill-in. He has been great when he's had to fill in for Jordan Reed. However, the Arizona defense allows 25.6 yards to tight ends per game.
I think he'll beat that.
Do you?
Yes.
I mean, there's some guys have been over that.
I think
this is just the average.
I think Vernon Davis will put up, a 4 or 5 for 45 or 50.
Fair enough.
Just kind of that middle of the road. I don't see him scoring the touchdown in this game. I agree. I would probably avoid him against the Arizona Cardinals defense. I think I start Crowder. I think I start if I need to start Cousins. I think I'm okay starting Cousins. I think when it comes to Garcon, that's more of a craps play.
Sure.
You're gambling a little bit there. And then on the flip side of the ball for the Cardinals, I said it earlier, I'm not playing John Brown. He would surprise me in an excellent way if he comes out and has a good game. So what does that say? Larry is a locked and loaded. He's the one.
Agree.
But if Vegas is right that this is a 49-point spread in a close game, then someone else has to get involved. And is that J.J. Nelson or
David.
is that Michael Floyd?
It's David Johnson.
So okay.
David Johnson's going to have a big week. Then the last point before we move on, Big Gresh. Jermaine Gresham has moved himself from fantasy nobody, and he put on his hazmat suit and he said, "Hey, Barfy tight ends, I'm joining this party. 11 receptions the last 3 weeks, 2 scores in the past 2 weeks. Is there anything here?"
Well, I know that the Redskins are 23rd against the tight end for fantasy points. So if you have, a head case in Michael Floyd and you're missing John Brown, or if he's just, not up to snuff, you could see Gresham a little bit involved. But I'm not.
Gresham or Davis?
I would take Davis.
All right.
I would take the talent over
Gresham's
the
a talented
matchup.
guy.
Oh, don't get me wrong.
Bad scheme for tight ends.
Yeah.
Giants, Steelers, 48.5 point over/under. The Steelers are favored by 6, despite the Giants having a spectacular year, a quietly spectacular year. Dallas is getting all the pub, but right behind them, tiptoeing through the tulips, are the New York Giants.
Yeah, I mean the narrative is that they haven't played very good teams and that their record is mostly fluff, and now they go on a bad streak. I discount that a little bit because what do you want them to do against the bad teams other than just beat the heck out of them? And while they haven't dominated,
we're all guilty of that narrative.
They have won those games, and so I agree. I think the Giants are a good defense. Jenkins has been really good. I mean, he as a lockdown corner,
he has shut down wide receiver
He's
ones.
shut down lots of guys, and it's expected that he's going to shadow Antonio Brown.
You scared?
No. No, I think Antonio Brown is on another level, and I'm never going to be scared. There's no team, no situation that I would ever not start Antonio Brown. Could he have a bad game? Absolutely. Julio Jones, Antonio Brown, Odell Beckham.
I mean, Antonio Brown might only catch, like 6 passes for 70 yards.
Right. That's going to be his bad game.
Eli Manning versus Big Ben Roethlisberger. Now, I looked this up because Big Ben at home. We've talked about the home road splits.
You play him when he's at home.
You play Big Ben at home. But the Giants are coming in.
They're the number 2 ranked defense against quarterbacks for fantasy football. That's pretty good.
Yeah, and their defense is allowing 10.4 points per game.
That's not good.
So I checked on
or
it.
really good, depending on your perspective.
So since 2014, Big Ben at home versus top 10 passing defense. I went, this is a tough opponent. He still averages nearly 22 fantasy points per game.
And the weather should be fine. 43 degrees, a little cool, overcast. Nothing that we see yet that says, the weather will be a problem. I have thought long and hard this morning about changing my start of the week from Russell Wilson to Big Ben. I would certainly start Big Ben over Russell Wilson. When we make our starts, and I don't think everybody realizes this, we're trying to not go with the top. We're trying to not go with a guy that we just expect to be a top 5 asset because most people are going to start him. We're looking for...
This is why Le'Veon Bell has never been a start of the week.
Right, exactly. Start him. Go ahead. Next week, my starts will be Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell.
David Johnson.
But still, you'd have a hard time at tight end.
Yeah. Oh, now you would.
Yeah.
Oh. So the pass catchers, let's look at them for the Pittsburgh Steelers because if Big Ben's going to score points, someone's catching the ball. Besides Le'Veon Bell, who's averaging 7 receptions a game. Goodness.
That's more than most wide receivers.
It's ridiculous.
And he is a running back.
Unbelievable.
Honestly, very similar to how you talk about the Cardinals. You think for the Cardinals, it's going to be Larry and David Johnson. I think it's going to be the same thing
You're
here.
going chalk?
I think it's going to be Le'Veon Bell and it's going to be Antonio Brown. I don't need to say that someone else. I don't think Sammy Coates is going to get it done anytime this year.
Eli Rogers has done nothing since
Right.
that one big game.
And your tight ends now are splitting with each other and Jesse James.
I think Ladarius Green's worth talking about, though.
Sure, bring him up.
You want to talk about Ladarius Green? This is me bringing him up.
Oh, okay. I see what you did there.
He had the 2 big receptions last week. Still limited snaps. However, his snaps are increasing. You had Mike Tomlin come out and say, "Okay, I think we're ready to get Ladarius more involved." Are you taking that shot on Ladarius Green? Ladarius Green or Vernon Davis?
That's a great question. Ladarius Green or Vernon Davis? I think I would go with Ladarius Green.
I would too.
And the reason why, when you say his snaps have been going up, he was 2 catches for 67 yards last week. He played his season high in snaps. Do you know how many snaps he played?
It was just a handful.
It's 14.
Yeah.
14 snaps. And so if that could go up to, it's very reasonable that a tight end like Ladarius Green this week could play 30. And if he doubles that, and you've got a great pass defense who's really just middle of the pack against tight end, I could see Ladarius Green being a play. That being said, again, it's one of those guys where I think I can do better. I would start him over Davis, but let me see where I've got Green ranked here. I've got Ladarius Green as my 20th tight end.
Yep. Will Tye on the other side has been very disappointing since it seemed like he firmly took over the job. He's going to be the man. When he was the man last year, he was a back-end tight end 1 for the remainder of the season, just not getting it done.
We have a nice hierarchy here because I just dropped Will Tye to pick up Davis in one of our leagues. I played him. So I go Tye, Davis, Green, all of which are below 20 in my ranking. So
Whoa.
I don't really recommend starting any of those guys if you can avoid it. I don't think the tight end is really the centerpiece.
Yeah, avoid
here.
this matchup.
What do you do with the Giants running game? Rashad Jennings has clearly been the guy there, but he hasn't been doing anything with it.
Yeah, but it's still start Jennings. If you're going to start anybody here, I'm okay with Jennings as a low-end running back too.
Low-end running back
Yeah,
too?
Paul Perkins has not done enough to take the job. Still don't have to worry about Shane Vereen quite yet. Buccaneers versus Chargers, 47.5 point over-under. The over-unders have been nice and juicy this week.
Yeah, I think the last few weeks we've had lower totals, and this week it's coming back to life here.
So a beautiful 70 degrees, clear skies predicted for the game in San Diego, where I think all football games should take place.
Yeah.
Is there a way to move just everyone to San Diego?
Yeah. Well, what's ironic is they will have a vacancy real soon. I saw on Twitter that
they are expected to take the relocation.
Yeah, but I now this is not official. This is something I saw from something.
This is rumors in the bushes.
This is rumors in the bushes. That San Diego was looking at relocating to LA for the 2017 season.
Yeah,
as in next season. So they might be out of San Diego really quick. So you got a few games left here, Mike, in the city you love.
All right.
Doug Martin is in. He is my 10th ranked running back.
Doug Martin, my start of the week.
None of us have him below RB12, so you got to have him in there.
So Jameis and Rivers, I like Rivers more than Jameis in this matchup. But my team right now, I'm looking at starting Jameis Winston or Kirk Cousins. And similarly to Jason, I'm going back and forth. I haven't made up a full decision here. I almost dropped Kirk Cousins today, but then I got a little worried, and I canceled the drop. So it's a tough decision for me on those two guys. The wide receivers, though, it is not a tough decision for the Buccaneers. It's Mike Evans or bust.
Absolutely.
I will say Adam Humphries, before the last week against Seattle, he did have 3 straight games of 7 targets. So I'm still not gonna mess around with Adam Humphries here. Cameron Brate he's the number 2 option. He's the number 2 passing option for the Buccaneers. Do you disagree?
No, I don't disagree. And I'm kind of sick of talking about Adam Brate this year. But
that's
truth
good
is,
because Adam Brate is not a real person.
Yeah,
Cameron Brate.
Or yes, Adam Humphries and Cameron.
You
Brate.
have fused them into one super player.
Yes, Cameron Brate. The reason we talk about him is what you just brought up. There's just not a lot of – ever since Vincent Jackson went down, you're looking for someone to replace that production. They got rid of Austin Seferian-Jenkins. And so Cameron Brate, he's got 4 touchdowns on the year and he's involved. And you've got an offense that you usually want a piece of because they're in higher scoring games. For me, I don't love the matchup against San Diego for the tight end. Cameron Brate's not that high in my rankings this week. I agree with your first statement. It's Mike Evans and bust.
On the other side, though, the Bucs are allowing the second most yards per reception to the tight end.
Sure.
Antonio Gates, Hunter Henry. Do you have interest here?
I very much have interest.
Both
there.
Or just one?
I'm gonna put Gates first. I am of the belief that Hunter Henry will be very good. But when you look at the total number of receptions, it's really Gates' job, and I like him a lot this week. He's my 7th ranked tight end. I would be absolutely happy to start him over most options. Hunter Henry, because you alluded to the yards per reception, Hunter Henry's faster.
He's the bigger play guy.
He's the downfield guy, so you could certainly have a nice big long touchdown reception. I just don't trust. I want the volume. I want the trust. I want more receptions. And right now,
you're like Lucio. You pump up the volume.
There you go. It's not often we get the Overwatch references in here.
Game of the year, apparently.
Really?
Yeah,
as it should be.
The Video Game Awards were last night.
All right. Well, congratulations, Blizzard Entertainment. I guess you're doing okay now.
Yeah. Small upstart Blizzard. If Tyrell Williams sits, do you have Dontrell Inman interest?
I do.
Okay.
I think at a certain point we always say someone's going to get it done. I have been kind of anti-Inman in the sense that I think that was
you've been an outman.
Yes, I think
not
that's
an Inman.
I think was that Andy's pump the brakes. It might have been
Dontrell Inman.
Yeah,
maybe after the big game.
After the big game. The reality is he's had 2 big games on the season, and every other game has been a complete stinker. And so you don't want that. But if you have a hurt Travis Benjamin and a completely missing Tyrell Williams, someone has to get the job done. That to me it's going to be Gates. Like Gates to me, I've got Eric Ebron as my start of the week. I'm starting Gates over Eric Ebron. I'm just
all right.
To me, Gates is pretty locked and loaded here.
Oh, Sunday night. Sunday night.
My wife, as a quick aside, that Sunday night intro with
Underwood?
Yes, with Carrie Underwood. My wife loves Carrie Underwood. Okay, so she's a fan. She's not an anti-Carrie Underwood person, but she mocks that little hop. She's like, she can't move. She's when she's like doing her little weird gallop.
She's trying to step in rhythm, which was a mistake.
It was terrible
because of the rhythm of the song. That was not the correct mistake or correct decision. My favorite part of that intro every single time. I don't know if you've caught this. If you have not, listeners, there's no way you haven't seen it, but just pay special attention to this. The Antonio Brown section where it shows, so Carrie Underwood hops over to him, and he does his little celebration dance. But just pay attention to his face. It is the way he's just smiling but not moving his face while dancing is highly entertaining to me every single week.
Antonio Brown is entertaining. He's an entertaining guy.
But this seems like
let's get him on the show.
This is an unintentional. Antonio Brown, if you're listening, we'd love to have you on the show. I think it's an unintentional hilarity, though. That's what makes it even funnier. So next time you're watching the Sunday night preview or intro, just give it a watch.
Yeah. Panthers,
Seahawks in Seattle. Seattle's favored by 7 points. This is a 44.5 point over/under. The previously surging Russell Wilson, and then came back to earth cross country against Tampa Bay.
He did, and I need to put out a little bit of a Russell Wilson is my start of the week this week. The reason I made him my start of the week was precisely because of his putrid performance against Tampa Bay. And I want people to know I don't expect that to be the new norm. I think that was the outlier. He's coming back. He's at home. But I also want to make sure, because this is the week where we can't just assume people know our subtext. People got to get things right this week. And Russell Wilson, if you have him and you don't have another option, that's where I'm saying you could start him. But I'd start Phillip Rivers and Matt Ryan and Andrew Luck and Matthew Stafford and Big Ben.
Let's go with the question of the week. Kaepernick or your player?
Kaepernick or Russell Wilson?
Yep.
It is very, very close in my rankings. They're 2 players apart. I think I would go Russell Wilson because of, multiple touchdown upside. I would not be, if someone wants to make the other move, I think that's close enough where you can do that. What you have happening right now for Seattle is you've got their whole defense coming together, finally getting healthy. And so this could end up being a lower scoring game than what we've been seeing out of the Seahawks recently. And while Russell Wilson was on fire the 3 previous weeks, scoring basically 30 fantasy points, some of those came on, let's call them unique plays, right? I mean, he caught a touchdown. He ran a touchdown when he wasn't rushing much. The one saving grace is that last week he had 80 yards on the ground. And so
that's all he could do was run.
But my point was that he could run. He spent the whole first half of this season immobile with those ankles and with the knee. You don't pick up 80 yards on the ground at the quarterback position unless your legs are okay now.
Now, this is an opposite game of, we talked about the Bills versus the Raiders. Bills have a strong pass rush. Raiders have an excellent offensive line. The Panthers have an excellent pass rush. They are averaging almost 3 sacks a game versus the Seahawks offensive line. This is my one dilemma with this game.
Mine as well.
So it's fantastic that Wilson can actually move again, because if this was beginning of the year, ankle-less Russell Wilson,
he would be destroyed.
He wouldn't make it through the game. But because he can run, will he be able to do enough? Get it to Doug Baldwin, hit Tyler Lockett, who finally looks healthy. I'm gonna move and so just before we move off of Seattle, Thomas Rawls, I'm not starting him this week. I don't like him at all in this matchup. Yeah, I don't care that it's at home.
I'm okay with him as a low-end RB2. That's where I have him ranked. I've got him ranked 19th, which is not, something where you need to start him if you've got better options. I would go with those. But I do think with their defense, with Seattle's defense being kind of back in tow, if this remains a low-scoring game, I don't think they'll go away from Rawls the way they kind of had to last game as quick. So my expectations aren't huge. Carolina's rushing defense has been very good, but low in RB2.
And on the other side, people have talked about this for weeks. Is Cam Newton still a weekly start? Now you have the ultimate test.
Not against Seattle.
In Seattle, are you pulling Cam Newton?
I will probably find a better option. Seattle's defense is coming together, and Cam Newton to me is the exact middle of the pack. He is number 15 while we have 30 teams playing this week. So whenever you're not top 12 to me, that says I think you can find a better option for that week. Cam will get enough yards on the ground running the ball. He could run, he could rush one of those goal line touchdowns in to where I don't think he's going to be the 30th quarterback this week, but I don't see his upside being very high against this defense coming off of that embarrassing loss for Tampa Bay at home. I'm not really excited about
I agree.
Any of the weapons. Kelvin Benjamin to me
I don't really want to play Kelvin. Jonathan Stewart finally looked okay since returning from injury. Jonathan Stewart has done basically nothing. He finally had a monster game. Now you're back into the mud here with Jonathan Stewart. Greg Olsen and Jimmy Graham, I'm starting both of these guys.
I am as well. As much as I'm disappointed with Greg Olsen, and Jimmy Graham has kind of not been that great recently. I think that both of these guys.
Let me verify.
You have Graham number 1.
Graham as my number 1 tight end.
I've got him number 2. So
I love him.
We do not disagree too much. And I've got Greg Olsen as my number 4. Really, those pieces in a game like this where you don't expect a ton of points, but you've got decent offenses and really good defenses, you use the tight end. That's kind of the weapon you have to scheme in there.
Monday Night Football, Colts are taking on the Jets in a 49-point over-under. Andrew Luck should be back from his concussion. Ryan Fitzpatrick coming off of that was probably his best game of the season, where he actually looked like an NFL quarterback and not a college quarterback playing in the NFL.
When I was looking up some stats for this game and wanting to see the trends, we look at everything, but I wanted to look at the trends of these two defenses. I found out that, the Jets are not as bad against the pass as we have this mental, we always have that
beginning of the
season, you just imprint, this is a good defense, this is a bad defense, and the Jets were atrocious. The first 5 games of the year against the quarterback, fantasy points given up in 6-point leagues per touchdown for quarterbacks, they were averaging 31.1 points given up to quarterbacks. That is terrible. Since those first 5 games, the previous 6 games, they have given up 16.6 points to the quarterback. So my point is, it's not to bench Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck is better than some of these quarterbacks they've been playing. But my point is, they are not atrocious against the passing game the way that they were the first half of the season. I say all that to say,
someone, who's atrocious?
The Colts.
Expialidocious.
The Colts passing defense, they have been very consistent this year. They have against the quarterback. They have been, if anything, they have been very consistent. They have been, you're right, very consistently bad. So we saw a good game from Ryan Fitzpatrick last week. Good fantasy quotes.
I'm going to test your might right here.
All right,
Cam Newton.
Oh, don't do that.
Or Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Oh man, Cam Newton or Fitzpatrick. I think I'm going to go Cam in that situation.
I think I play Ryan Fitzpatrick.
The ceiling,
I say it really quietly so
I think
no one hears me.
I think the ceiling is higher with Fitzpatrick. He could get in one of those game scripts where he has to throw for over 300 yards and maybe gets 2 or 3 touchdowns. I don't see that happening for Cam, but I think the floor is always lowest with Ryan Fitzpatrick. I mean, he could come out and even against the Colts, it's cold weather. He's at home, but it's cold weather. He's never been a cold weather stalwart. So if he comes out and throws 2 picks and gets pulled, your floor is just so low with Fitz.
The pass catchers for the Indianapolis Colts, you have T.Y. Hilton coming off of the back injury. We do expect him to play, but be prepared just in case. Philip Dorsett is a fine fill-in if T.Y. Hilton is not able to go. And you think, well, Dorsett, he had a chance, right?
Yeah.
He had a chance when Moncrief was out. I think Dorsett is a much better fill-in for that T.Y. Hilton role on the offense, so he could still be okay, and you always want more than 0 points.
Yes, better to play a guy that's playing than not, and because it's the Monday night game, he's a good handcuff because you don't have to worry about when you find out if T.Y. Hilton is playing.
And then you have my guy, who is just a touchdown machine lately.
And every time he gets in that end zone, he's slapping that base.
Moncrief.
There it is. Mike has been wanting to play that slapping the bass sound with Moncrief for a while. He loves it.
What? Moncrief. All right, Dante Moncrief is a must start for me.
He's not a must start for me.
Oh, he's a must start for me. I have him as a high level wide receiver 2 in this matchup.
Now, to be fair, I have him low end wide receiver 2. To me, that's
a must start.
That's not a must start to me. I think we're getting close to the playoffs.
Do you have 3 wide receiver 1s on your team?
I'm saying that, look, we're close to the playoffs. If you've got Julian Edelman, who's come on strong, and Michael Crabtree to pair with a stud, maybe you've got, Brandon Marshall.
All right.
There's a bunch of guys that I would say could be on a team that I would start over him. Not a must start, but certainly startable. I'm not saying bench Moncrief.
Brandon Marshall had actually a pretty solid game. Almost had 2 touchdowns. I think he's a fine play.
I'm scared with my ranking on Brandon Marshall.
Is it very high?
It is. He's my 6th highest wide receiver this week.
Yeah. I don't blame you. The Colts defense are allowing a passer rating of 104.8. That is just absolutely
We'll see
abysmal.
what Ryan Fitzpatrick can do.
All right, moving on. Like I said, no.
Now, what about Frank Gore? Real quick?
Yes,
because
yes, of
course.
course.
You've got a curious situation. Always solid, always reliable. But the Jets defense, they're leading the league in tackles in the backfield.
Yeah,
they're very good against the run. So
it's going to be tough for Gore this.
You're
week.
probably going to start Gore, right? I mean, I've got him 21st. So as an RB2, you're probably going to need to start him, but lower your expectations. I doubt he has a monstrous game against the Jets.
I agree with that. And Matt Forte he's Matt Forte. He's been pretty solid all year. So as I said, no Chris Meade today, unfortunately, but we still have the DFS article on the fantasyfootballers.com from Ben Cummins, and we're already way over.
Man,
we're already way over. But you know what?
Who cares? Who cares?
Andy's not here to stop us.
Let's do some mailbag.
Mailbag.
Mailbag!
Yeah.
The best kind of bag is a mailbag. This one comes in from Patrick in Florida. Hey, so I'm reading this verbatim.
Sure.
Hey, so I have Winston against the Chargers defense or Cap against the Bears defense. Which one should I go? I have Mike Evans, by the way. There's no punctuation in this sentence. Which one should I go? I have Mike Evans, by the way. Don't know if I should go with my pair up, go with the double stuff, or not.
So here's how I feel about this. I would rather play, take Winston out, right? Because I use that maybe as a tiebreaker. I don't.
You mean Mike Evans?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do mean Mike Evans.
I thought so.
Thank you for reading my mind.
Thought so.
If you take him out, I would rather play Colin Kaepernick this week than Jameis Winston. Colin Kaepernick has been hot enough to keep up with. The only reason that I would play Jameis Winston for that stack, because you can make the argument that it's better to diversify your assets than to get the stack.
Got to diversify your bonds.
The only reason you need that stack is if you're in a matchup against, if you're the underdog, if you're playing one of those teams that's just, they've got one loss and they're putting up huge points every week, then I would be more inclined to stack, because every time, if Evans can go out and get a 2-touchdown game, you're getting 4 touchdowns guaranteed out of that. They give you those monster performances.
Right.
Do you agree with that, or would you start Winston over Cap?
I would start Kaepernick if I had him available to me this particular week. Landon, Ohio, would you trade DeVante Adams for Doug Martin or Tevin Coleman? Already has Jordy Nelson.
If you have Jordy Nelson, and I'm going to go ahead and assume you have other decent wide receivers, then I would do that, because I think Doug Martin and DeVante Adams, they're both near about the same level in their respective positions. Running backs, to me, are far less easy to get. More important, I would rather have Doug Martin than DeVante Adams, especially because I don't really want to start. You're fine to do
So
it.
take Martin out. Let's say that falls through. Would you trade DeVante Adams for Tevin Coleman?
No, I would not, because Tevin Coleman is not, to me, a sure thing weekly start. DeVante Adams pretty much is that right now.
Sebastian in Palm Beach, Florida. Jason, we have another commissioner problem.
Oh, no.
Commissioner in my league made a trade with the worst team in our league. The trade was Jimmy.
I'm just going to interrupt you. It's always the worst when it's the actual commissioner involved in these.
Yes.
All right, go on.
The trade was Jimmy Graham and Ty Montgomery for Devontae Parker and James White. Okay.
Jimmy Graham
and Ty Montgomery. For Devontae Parker and James White.
Okay.
The commish traded players from his NBA fantasy team to the same guy in order to compensate for the obvious horrible trade in fantasy football. Is this sneaky or just plain unfair?
Well, this is really weird because here's how I view that trade. I don't think the trade is a vetoable trade. It's close enough to me.
Yeah, I was expecting it to be very bad. I was thinking, well, whoever got Jimmy Graham clearly won.
Right.
But
Jimmy Graham side
won. That's still the winning side.
That's still the winning side. Don't get me wrong. But I don't veto trades because they're slightly better. However, making a makeup deal, like if it's official, if they have come out and said we're making this deal over here because it is a bad deal over in the football league, and it's kind of the makeup, and that's why it's all fair together.
There is verbiage in here said they told me the only reason he did the trade was to get better in our NBA league.
Then no, that's collusion, and collusion is they have agreed to come together to help certain things behind the scenes. And while the trade, if they had just made the trade, I would say, no, you can't veto that. It's not a vetoable trade. I'm always going to veto collusion. And they're colluding behind the scenes. If he said, I wouldn't have made this trade, except I'm trying to just get better in this other league that doesn't matter.
Sometimes you got to keep your mouth shut.
Yeah. Dummy.
The trade is just, it's not that bad.
But you know what's going to happen? Let me just go out here and say this. Nothing, because it's the commission. Sorry.
That's very true. Hey, you want to get into some better leagues? FootClanLeagues.com is a meeting place for listeners of this show that want to get in awesome competitive leagues, and that is exclusively available for our JoinTheFoot.com supporters. Jason, it was a spectacular 3 days. We were living the dream.
You know, we did it. We had to pull.
We did it our way.
You're a beautiful sing-songer, Mike.
Sing-songer? Am I a bird?
Yeah. Andy will be back leading the charge here on Monday. We wish you guys the best of luck. Don't forget that Mike will have his Periscope Sunday morning.
Yes, thank you.
And if you already know you got it done, in fact, why don't you go ahead and go get your championship trophy right now from
FantasyJocks.com, promo code footballers.
Thank you for listening to another edition of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Don't forget to visit us on the web at www.thefantasyfootballers.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.